It's 11 p.m. The house is finally quiet. Nobody is watching, and nothing is required of you. The choices you make in this exact moment, what you reach for when you can finally exhale, reveal a psychological confession. They map out exactly what your soul is hungry for underneath the noise you perform for the rest of the world. For one specific group of people, this hidden time is critical. INFJs make up less than 2% of the global population. They walk through life with a highly specific, deeply intense mental architecture. This diagram represents how their mind operates. The top layer is the modern world, fast, chaotic, and surface level. But the INFJ runs on a cognitive function called introverted intuition. This deep network underneath is pattern-obsessed and constantly searches for meaning. It barely tolerates staying on that shallow surface. Beyond seeking depth, INFJs have a built-in radar for others. They absorb the emotional temperature of a room, a relationship, or even a passing sentence. These heavy arrows show that daily reality. They carry external feelings and emotional weight they never volunteered for, building immense pressure inside that bottom layer. With a mind demanding precision and a system absorbing everyone else's stress, they reach a breaking point. These hobbies act as vital life support systems, providing the only mechanisms available to vent that constant psychological pressure. Take a look at this densely written journal page. This is cognitive archaeology. An INFJ will spend hours excavating a single moment, maybe a passing comment from 3 weeks ago, turning it over until the true meaning finally breaks the surface. Writing forces the internal noise outward, acting as a ritual of separation. By putting words on a physical page, they can finally sort through the pile of feelings to identify what actually belongs to them and what they absorbed from someone else. That same sensitivity drives them toward quiet service. You will typically find them privately tutoring a struggling student or quietly organizing a food drive. For them, seeing someone in pain causes a literal physical discomfort. They help others to relieve that internal ache. Journaling and quiet service do the exact same job from different angles. They act as biological filters, allowing the INFJ to process the emotional noise of society and safely discharge the excess weight. This shelf of ancient, weathered texts captures their approach to reading and the big questions. If you want to find an INFJ in a bookstore, skip the bestsellers and head straight to philosophy, religious studies, or depth psychology. They approach reading with a physical stillness that can unsettle people. They read for contact, waiting for the electric moment a sentence reaches off the page and proves that someone else, somewhere in history, understood exactly what they feel. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung lived inside the exact cognitive world INFJs inhabit every day. Discovering his work on the unconscious and the shadow gives them a vocabulary for an inner life they have always possessed. Look closely at the drawn imagery on this tarot card. When an INFJ studies a symbol like this, or dissects a heavy dream, they are using archetypes as structured mirrors. These prompts help their intuition tease out patterns they are already quietly sensing. Whether it's ancient texts, psychological theory, or rich symbolism, these pursuits anchor the INFJ. They provide historical proof that an intense, complicated inner world is a valid, shared human experience. When an INFJ turns to creating art, whether it's fiction, visual media, or music, they prioritize truth over aesthetic beauty. They reject anything that is merely decorative but hollow. Their goal is to extract a feeling from their own chest and force another person to actually feel it. Handing you a finished piece of their work is an act of extreme vulnerability because they are handing you a piece of their actual psychology. Music acts as a total weather system for an INFJ. Put them in a quiet room with headphones, and they don't just listen, they immerse entirely. It satisfies their hunger for rich sensory experience without the exhausting demand of a social performance. They use specific songs to think. A single track played on repeat becomes the architecture for a specific emotion. It allows them to return to unspoken truths or process a difficult season of growth by stepping safely back inside the song whenever they need to. art and music provide the same benefit. The inner world of an INFJ is formless, chaotic, and relentlessly deep. Creative work gives all of that intensity a safe, physical container. You likely picture this personality type curled up quietly with tea and a book, but that stereotypical image shatters the moment you find them tearing down a mountain on a bike or in absolute freefall out of an airplane. This gauge illustrates a sealed pressure system. INFJs spend enormous amounts of time inside their own heads, constantly pattern matching and auditing emotional data. Eventually, all those overthought conversations and carried emotions create an unbearable accumulation of pressure. Extreme physical action acts as an emergency vent. An overworked mind cannot analyze its way out of exhaustion. Free climbing a rock face or jumping from a plane forces the INFJ directly into their physical body. It demands total, immediate presence, and in that split second, the brain finally goes quiet. The bookish friend booking a one-way flight with zero plans is responding to a biological necessity. Adrenaline is the one thing that can force their overworked brain into the present moment, so they can actually catch their breath. Zoom out across all 7 of these behaviors, and a very clear pattern emerges. Journaling, reading Jung, serving others quietly, meticulously crafting art, listening to music, and jumping from planes serve the same purpose. They protect solitude, process the self, and root the person in actual meaning. But the modern world constantly demands speed, shallow interactions, and relentless noise. When life pulls the INFJ away from these grounding rituals, they don't just get bored. They begin to psychologically fracture, cut off from the only environment where they actually belong. A journal, a solitary walk, or a philosophical book constitute vital psychological infrastructure. To the INFJ, these are requirements for survival. Treating these habits as optional is a costly mistake. If you recognize yourself in this mirror, your need for silence and your obsession with meaning are foundational. Stop apologizing for your intensity. Stop trying to make yourself more convenient for a society that is uncomfortable with depth. Protecting these habits is the only way to remain yourself. The world desperately needs people who think and feel with this kind of precision. Stay in the deep end. That is where everything worth anything actually happens.